Conservative Talk Chicago is a podcast created to promote fair, impartial, and pragmatic reporting of political issues and candidates' stance on topics affecting Illinois residents. We felt that politically based news was not being disseminated impartially, and instead shared with a strong liberal bias, being promoted by our liberal Illinois government. This is clearly evident by comparing our own local and national mainstream broadcast and political messaging to the news content from conservative and foreign news sources. It became readily apparent that many important newsworthy events were being suppressed and curated with opinion and lies of omission, without impartial clarification. Consequently, we believe we are being fed innuendo and half-truths. If you are as frustrated as we and feel like a mushroom kept in the dark, if you question just how disingenuous most politically biased news reporting is, then welcome. You number among the middle. Like you, we question what we hear. Like you, we are distrustful of news that flies in the face of common sense. For example, a point of contention amongst many is the necessity of teaching our kids grades K through 6 about sexuality. Do the majority of parents actually support exposing their prepubescent children to graphic portrayals of recreational sex techniques? Sex education was first promoted in the 60s as a way to help prevent teen pregnancies. Today, it is being taught to show how mixed sex and same-sex children can perform sex for fun, with lifelike drawings of children performing these acts. Do the liberals really think that the rest of us believe same-sex prepubescent children can't get pregnant? This curriculum sounds like an agenda to groom our children. And don't get me started on the supporting of prepubescent child's rights to change their sex. Can any responsible parent, who only has the best interests of the child at heart, agree that a minor is equipped to understand the ramifications of a sex change decision? We've all been children. Who wasn't both confused and curious about sex when reaching puberty? Can a minor who doesn't quite understand sexuality make a sound personal assessment regarding sex change treatment and its long-term physical and psychological ramifications at all, let alone without error? This is what youth is for, to explore and learn in a safe, non-judgmental environment. As responsible adults, we should be protecting our children from making scarring decisions and let them grow up and satisfy their curiosity first, then support their choice when old enough to fully understand. Furthermore, do parents actually think these alternate topics like recreational sex education are more important than economics, math, or especially the ability to read at college level when ready to enter college? There are so many contentious issues that plague our lives, our families, and our government that need to be addressed and resolved. At Conservative Talk Chicago, we are not interested in the boisterous rhetoric of the far right. There are already too many social media groups representing those identifying with that group. Nor are we here to attack the far left. They are entitled to their opinions, just as we're entitled to not have to listen to visceral rhetoric. Our goal is simple: to clarify the issues and expose the important elements that are being hidden from the majority of American voters, who occupy the middle. The problem, as we see it, is threefold. 1, the far left and far right are the loudest, most vocal, and most argumentative, each promoting their own specific viewpoints. 2, because of this, they are also the most followed and promoted by mainstream media, as it serves their narrative, antagonism, and fighting sells. 3, the far left has way too much money, mostly from Pritzker financing, and can afford to promote their liberal agendas at the expense of a more conservative perspective. You might be asking, how exactly do we define the middle and the fringe? Most of us learned what a bell curve was when in school. Basically, it is just a graphical depiction of a statistical representation of a population of actions, attributes, or even people. By plotting student grades from 0 to 100 on the x-axis of an XY graph and the number of students achieving a certain grade point along the y-axis, we can define a grade point distribution. And with a large enough population, the curve begins to display a bell shape. The populations of students with the lowest and highest grades are at the edges or the fringe of the bell, while the majority make up the center or the middle. By replacing students with voters and grades with a range from very liberal or far left to very conservative or far right, we can create a similar bell-shaped distribution. The ends of the bell curve represent the fringe, the liberal and conservative extremists, who, by the way, also comprise the smallest portions of that voter population. The middle of the bell curve represents most of the silent majority, made up of moderates of both liberal and conservative persuasion. A person might be conservative or right-leaning on 75% of the issues, but because that person has a more liberal perspective on 25% of the remaining issues, they may be dubbed rhino or liberal by far-right conservatives. When that happens, communication can go right out the window. Personally, I would call these people moderates. The middle are people who don't take offense to differing opinions and appreciate the need for frank, open discussion. The middle understands some of those with differing opinions may be our families, friends, neighbors, and deserve our respect. The middle doesn't want to fight and argue. They just want to make sense of the issues and find the best solution for everyone. But to achieve that, one needs to understand the issues and all the facts surrounding proposed solutions. The middle is frustrated with party politics, with the continued antagonism amongst the fringe extremists, and the lack of true transparency on the issues. Most of the far right and far left persuasion will argue and champion their perspectives, locking horns instead of engaging in open discussion and attempted collaboration. When extremists argue, that is all the media reports. The middle hears and reads the reporting and believes those who comprise the fringe are not listening. The middle has become frustrated and disdains party politics. The middle displays this by forsaking party politics, becoming independent, and displaying voter apathy. Consequently, many don't bother to vote. When asked if they will vote, many will respond, "Why bother? My vote doesn't matter." However, the middle hasn't really given up and still hopes for meaningful resolution to the issues. They want to discuss the facts and collaborate with their neighbors, families, and friends with kindness and objectivity and due consideration. They want to hear and discuss the candidates and elected officials and determine who are working in the best interest of the residents and not out for themselves. The middle knows we are all in this together, though we don't always act like it. We need a source of unbiased, pragmatic information to clarify the topics and to offset the apparent lack of transparency. At Conservative Talk Chicago, we do not propose that anyone gives up their opinions and stance on the issues. Our goal is to help the voter become fully cognizant of the issues and to introduce conservative candidates, elected officials, and share their perspectives. We believe that with understanding, informed voters would support and vote for conservative candidates and solutions that are the most practical and make the most sense. My name is Jack Novak. Along with my team, we will post 30-minute weekly episodes curated to address the most important issues of the day. We will do this with guest speakers, guest hosts, elected officials, and candidates. They will clarify the issues affecting us at the national, state, and local levels, though we will focus the majority of our efforts on the needs of Illinois. We will always welcome your questions, concerns, and ideas. Please send them by email to talktome@conservativetalkchicago.com. We will select the most pertinent in future episodes. And just to be clear, our program is to be informative, fair, impartial, and pragmatic, addressing and clarifying the pertinent issues from a conservative viewpoint. We will not engage in antagonistic rhetoric. We will not use colorful metaphors to emphasize a point. We are all adults and will conduct ourselves accordingly. We will focus on the facts and let the facts speak for themselves. I'm not saying we won't try to have fun, but we will try to lead by example as if our children were watching. Thank you for listening to my rambling. We look forward to serving you and hopefully answer some pressing questions.